This is J.G. Hertzler. You're listening to NX 7062 Podcast.
Hey, everybody. It is that time. It is time for the NX 7062 Podcast, recorded live on Friday night. And I say it because I have a guest coming up. But I am sitting here in New Jersey where I always am. It's Friday. It is not Monday because I'm not going to be here Monday. So I'm here now. And I just thought it would be more interesting to do new content and just tape something new that's kind of holiday relevant, and we'll explain why in a little bit, then just, find something else to share with you guys. So this is brand new, fresh content. It's just recorded. And as always, know that I miss you all, Chat Pack 2.0. But we're going to do the exact same thing as if I was actually with you. We're going to chat a little bit about, see, even got Podcat. Everything's the same. And you can see him because I went back to regular green screen. Let's see. So we're just going to talk about stuff, and then I'm going to have my very special guest come in a minute. The first thing I want to say is, based on last week, Jean has been looking tirelessly and he has put in a lot of effort to try and find me those DC tarot cards. The link he sent me during the show wasn't what I needed. So thank you, Jean. I wanted to say thank you, give a shout out to you here for your tireless efforts in finding me those elusive DC tarot cards. Thank you so much. What else is going on? Well, today is the 20th, and that means a big happy birthday shout out to Nicole DeBoer, as Redax, as we all know, from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. A very, very, very happy birthday, Nicole. I hope you're spending it in an amazing way, whether it be in Toronto or LA. Last time I saw her on social, she was in LA, so hopefully she's enjoying some sunshine for her birthday. What else? Have to point out my shirt. It is the Roddenberries. They are this fantastic Star Trek party band. They are based out of Philadelphia. They are this incredible group. You can follow them on social. Just go look up the Roddenberries. They're amazingly awesome. They do this really great song. I was actually using it back in my audio only days, called Amok, where it's this mashup of Amok Time, and then they throw in the that dun, 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 that Klingon music. That's Amok. Then they throw in the Klingon music, which I can't do. But then they throw in the Imperial March. So it's my favorite Roddenberry song of all time. Go check them out. Go buy their stuff. They were the house band this past August and in Vegas, and they were flipping awesome as usual. What else? Oh, we got to talk about Discovery, of course. This past week's episode, the big rescue, trying to get people out of the way of the DMA, and we just found out the DMA is man-made, which is going to be really interesting. My favorite part, and I posted about this when I saw it, my favorite part of the entire episode was pretty much before the credits. You got the USS Janeway, which would be your Voyager reference. You had the IS, I don't know what Vulcans call their ships, but the T'Pau, which is obviously TOS/Enterprise, but mostly a TOS reference. When they were trying to track the path of the DMA, and they were showing that big map of the galaxy, you got to see where Denobula was. And then, what else? Oh, yeah. And they mentioned the Q Continuum, who have been quiet for 600 years. So I don't know. Maybe it's time for the Q to make another appearance. I mean, the Q's already going to go bug Picard, so why can't they, go bug the Federation a few hundred years in the future? What else? And to answer a question from last week, because I saw it online, and in case anybody missed it, the specific drop date for the Orville on Hulu is March 10th. So at least you don't have to wait too long into March, but March 10th is the date for the Orville to drop on Hulu. So I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. So we are about to get to the nitty-gritty, the main story, the meat of this podcast with my very, very special guest. You all have seen him in my chat rooms. You've talked to him in my chat rooms, and now you're finally, if you haven't followed him and looked at any of his videos online, you're finally gonna get a chance to see what he looks like. My best comic friend, my comic guru. It's time to meet the amazing Magic Lasso. Yay!
Well, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me on there. I guess I should say, too, maybe in your introduction, you should have said you've tolerated him in the chat room. But from the very get-go, what I'd like to say is, and I know that you've pointed this out, too, for the live participants, as well as people that might see a comment that pops up when they're watching on Rewind, I am not your typical demographic for your show.
No.
So everyone's been so super kind, and I thank everyone who puts up with me. Everything that I say is always meant with a smile, or try to put a smile on someone's face. I never say anything outside of the realm of trying to entertain someone. So thank everyone in the chat who puts up with me and is always so kind to me. And I want to thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I want to thank you for entertaining the Chat Pack 2.0. I have to say 2.0 because the original Chat Packs actually belongs to somebody else's podcast. Sure. But my Chat Pack 2.0, you have entertained us, and you've broadened my Star Trek referencing, because whatever you mention, I have to turn around and try and bring it back to Star Trek. So, you're giving me these wonderful mental gymnastics to go through.
I have definitely am guilty as charged in taking you off course. I mean, you can say something and I might lead into it and say, oh, that has something to do with Bewitched, or that has something to do with the Batman TV show, or whatever. But every once in a blue moon, I do get an accurate Star Trek reference thrown in there myself.
You do, and it's pretty impressive considering how little Star Trek you've actually watched. Yeah. I'm just excited that we were able to. Actually, this was my idea, so I'm going to take all the credit for it. But I'm glad I was able to come up with a reason to get you on the show. Because as much as I love going off topic, and I embrace that, and I am famous for it, I still need to have my guests that come on my show. It still has to figure some way into Star Trek. So I was able to think of something that is a benefit to any fandom.
Yeah, so, I agree. So but first of all, I mean, do you think that I'm going to let Comic Food 2814 have the bragging rights of I've been on this show for him saying that with me not being on the show? Heck no. I'm not going to let him.
Heck no. It was the only reason that he beat you was because he's a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only reason he beat you.
So I am fully expecting to see Mr. Mallow Cups himself, Jean Mallow, on here sometime in 2022. That's
probably not too far out of the realm. And the other thing, what you were saying about my amazing Chat Pack 2.0, the comic community, the comic book community, I should say, that you've introduced me to through YouTube, are just as wonderful and welcoming. I mean, John has literally been researching these tarot cards for me since last week, and he's been sending me links. He actually found some Star Trek ones. I really want my DC one. I want that particular one because I loved the artwork. Because it's not just, I mean, I have tarot cards. Like we mentioned before, I have tarot cards. But, and this is rolling into our topic, it's about the artwork, and the artwork and obviously the subject matter.
Sure.
But I would sooner, and doesn't have anything to do with what Sean showed me, but I would rather have, good artwork on a DC than like crappy artwork, but it's Star Trek.
I understand.
So that's, besides, sometimes I think maybe because they started their lives as drawings and not actual people, I have more of an affinity for DC artwork than I do for Trek artwork, because if you screw up somebody's face that I knew that I knew their face because I've watched the TV show, and then you're trying to present me an artist rendering of them, I think I'm going to be a little pickier about that kind of artist rendering than I am with a DC. And it goes in reverse for DC, because you've got, Linda Carter really embodied the artwork. Like, I think, if she didn't look as close to the Wonder Woman in the comic strips as the comic books as she did, would she have been? It's popular.
Well, first of all, I mean, that's with pretty much all of the characters in the comic book community, at least with the big two companies, we're talking about characters that were established first in their books. So
Right.
it's the actor's job, to me, at least in my perspective, to match that look, not the other way around, not where, you're licensing an image of someone, of a character that became famous on TV first. Then it's the reverse situation.
Exactly, which I think is why I'm pickier of the artwork for Star Trek people, because it's like, if you don't look like something, then it works the other way with the artwork.
Well, I know there's been many times that I've sent you, and I only send them either if they're really good or if they're really bad.
Really bad, and then we laugh at them.
But I've sent you some Christopher Reeve as Superman images, and for those that aren't aware, right now there is a limited series comic book called Superman 78, and it's called 78 because it was in 1978 that the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves came out, and I think they do a great job in capturing the likenesses. I mean,
they do. I wouldn't have bought them, I don't think, if they hadn't. Sure. And the other cool thing is the storylines are the storylines that were rejected for what ended up being Superman Returns. There was always supposed to be a Superman movie after Superman 4. Mm-hmm. There was this whole Nicolas Cage debacle thing. Yeah. And while they were casting for it, they had a slew of stories. And what was it called? I think the Death of Superman. There's a documentary out there about them trying to make this movie.
Sure.
So I got to see a bunch of the stories that never happened.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that never happened is what they're using for Superman 78.
Yeah, and in the comic book world, I mean, we have other comic books too that where their likenesses are used. There's also a Batman 89 limited series comic book, which follows what would have been a Batman movie script with the Michael Keaton era. And it actually kind of follows more, they introduced Harvey Dent, who was played, I think, by Billy D. Williams, if I'm remembering correctly, who would have been
the only reason I heard that's the only reason he took the part, and then he got screwed.
Yeah, he did. And he would have eventually became the villain Two-Face, for those who aren't aware. And he would have been one of the two big baddies in one of the movies. But we have other comic books too. Linda Carter is Wonder Woman. There's Marvel characters too that are depicted. I've seen Thor comic books where you can tell that's Chris Hemsworth.
Right. Well, and then they did the Bionic Woman crossover, and that artwork is great.
Yep.
That's really great artwork.
We even had Adam West Batman comic books and feature films and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not to get totally off topic, because I don't think we've really officially announced what.
We haven't officially announced the topic yet.
And I'm sure my Star Trek fans out there are saying, well, how are you saying this is going to tie into Star Trek? You want to say what our topic is tonight?
Our topic is 10 tips for collectors.
Yeah, and this means anything you collect.
Exactly. Like, how I told Fu last week, I had a Riker without the beard, and I opened it because back then I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
And his little communicator broke, and yeah.
So that's what we're going to do tonight. Our 10 tips for collectors. Now, with me, just a general rundown. I collect a lot of things, and pretty much the 5 tips that I'm going to share with you, I think can be applied to any type of collections. But just as a general overall, so you get a little bit of a feel for me, I'm a comic book collector. I especially like older comic books. I am a Wonder Woman collector. Love Wonder Woman memorabilia. I'm an autograph collector. You're famous. You got a signature. I'm interested. I have a good size collection of TV shows on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. So I kind of dabble in a lot of different things. I really easily could get into Funkos. I don't know what it is about those little things, but they're addictive. And I have some. I wouldn't call me a full-time Funko collector, but those are some of the things that I'm passionate about. And all these tips, I think you can apply to any area, as well as anything that you who are watching might be collecting that we don't mention.
Yep, and mine are actually more of the how-to tips, like when you're shopping, like what to look for, how to look for it, those kind of tips, which again, I mean, which really applies to any day of your life, but a lot of it is very helpful when you go to a convention, which we all do. You go to comic conventions. I go to my Star Trek conventions. So.
All right. So should we kick off our list?
I think we should, and since you're the guest, you get to go first.
Awesome. So these are not in any particular order. It's just kind of how I spit these out to you. But the first thing that I'm going to say, knowledge is power. And let's talk about that for a minute. Regardless of what you're collecting, learn about that item. Learn, are there variations of this item? Sometimes there's a different box or something's different on the box. Was it only produced in one country? Just knowledge is power. So you want to learn as much as you can about an item. Go on the internet, start researching stuff. You know what, another tip that's knowledgeable? How much does this stuff generally sell for? You learn that stuff, you know if you're going to be getting a good deal on something if you get the opportunity for it in the future. Knowledge is power. I can't stress that enough. What do you think about that?
I think that in this day and age, you could be standing over something and be looking it up and look it up on eBay. I mean, Google's got that image search thing. You could take a picture of it and Google the picture and see what it comes up. So, and the beauty of it is if you're standing over it, if you pull that comic book or that Star Trek phaser off a shelf, and you're looking at it, just take the picture of it and then just stand there with it, because that way nobody's going to try and take it from you if they think you're interested. And then if you're not, don't, just like kind of stand your ground. Like, no, I'm interested in this until I'm not.
Exactly. And you're right with the technology. Use that technology and make that your friend, because everyone has that smartphone now. We can connect to the internet while we're there. It's if you forget something about an item, look it up. You got the capabilities to do so. And in the long run, the seller just wants to sell this item. And if it takes 10 extra minutes to sell the item, in the end, if he sells it, he's happy.
Right. And don't just rely on the seller for the knowledge. Like, do your own independent research.
You make the knowledge, because that's the power.
Which actually kind of rolls into one of my tips, and I'm taking them out of order.
Yeah.
Which rolls into my tips, which is don't be afraid to ask to take a closer look. When I was comic book shopping for you at Terrificon in Connecticut, I always I don't think I ever met a comic book guy that wouldn't let you take the comic out of the bag while you were standing there. But I always ask, especially on a higher ticketed item, if I could take it out. Obviously you can't take it out of the box. Like if it's a boxed item and they're selling it, but that doesn't mean you can't ask them to hand you the box off the shelf.
Yeah, because even if they're holding on to it, have them turn it around for you.
Right, because
an up close look at it. That's a fantastic tip.
Right, especially because when it's a boxed item, part of the value is actually in the condition of the packaging.
Yes, condition makes a huge difference. Whether you're going to be paying a lot more or not much more,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there have been there are these really great Star Trek Enterprise sets that you could get. That they're just like little stations on the ship. Like you could get over this shoulder, like that station with Malcolm Reed. You could get that. They turn that into a little set, and it talks.
Oh, cool.
So push the button and see if the batteries are still working. Because that's kind of fun. I mean, that's not going to last forever, but that, might give you a hint to like how many people have actually like touched it or played with it. But yeah, because the value is wrapped up in the packaging. So if the packaging's scuffed or dented in the back, that actually gives you a bargaining chip.
Just think of it this way. If someone held up the identical item, one is mint, it looks like it still was on the store shelf. I mean, was just taken off the store shelf in the 1980s or 90s or whatever, or even prior to that. And then you have the exact same one that say it's still in the package, but the package looks like it's been through some garage sales and some wear, and maybe it's been stepped on, and there's some wrinkling. Those should not be the same priced items.
Exactly.
So you're right. Don't be afraid to ask for a closer look. Fantastic tip.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, like last week with my James. Oh, he's still here. I didn't put him away. I wanted him. He was $10. I wanted him. The minute I picked him up, I felt the staples. So I know he's technically not an in-the-box item. Also not planning on reselling him.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, $10 for this was fine. But for a collector, no way, Jose. Because it's been opened. So
yeah.
And
well, but then there are collectors that doesn't bother them at the same time too.
Oh,
and there's
yeah.
no right or wrong way. Whatever you enjoy is the right way to collect.
I got news for you. A little piece of the plastic just fell off the bottom of it. But like I said, this isn't me being like, I want something pristine. This is me going, I want a Zephram Cochrane from First Contact. So yeah, it's all about what you're looking for. Okay, exactly. Your turn.
Okay, so going with the theme of knowledge is power, what I really suggest you do is make a goal list. What do you want to achieve? And I think you need to be realistic about your goal list. You need to be realistic with what you can afford, what you like, what time frame that you're going to try to accomplish these things for. But don't make your goal list too easy. What I do with comic books, and as a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon on my channel, I'm going to be publishing my 2022 top 12 goal list for back issue comic books I want to get.
I got to stop you. You just said tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is
in afternoon.
Okay, just wanted to check. See, you are more, I have to admit, you are more adept at the recording than I am. So I just wanted to make sure you weren't referring to what tomorrow is and the day after we tape this. You meant Tuesday. You're good.
Tomorrow afternoon, I am dropping a video on my channel, the top 12 goal list for back issue comic books that I hope to achieve in my collection. Now, I easily could have gone in and put 12 different $1 comic books on there, and then in my first video of the year say, look at me. I accomplished my entire year's goal already. And there's nothing wrong with putting a $1 comic book on your list if it's truly something that you want. But I do challenge you to push yourself a little bit. I've put books on my list that I'm like, I don't know if I can get this, but I'm going to try this year and see what happens. And the reason that I do 12, because it seems really doable to try to get one a month. In practicality, it doesn't always work out like that, because it seems like I might go 2 or 3 months and I won't get anything off of my list. And then in 1 month, I'll get 2 or 3 all at once. They seem to come in waves and then chill out for a little while.
Right.
But that's why I urge you to make a list. It keeps you focused. You don't start taking your money and diverting it into other disposable areas. It just keeps you focused. I think it's a smart idea. I think it's fun too to share, your list with people and say, this is what I'm trying to get. But be realistic too. There's some comic books out there that I would love to have in my collection, but financially, that's not a realistic goal for me at this time. For those that don't know, comic books right now are experiencing, back issue older comic books are experiencing a boom. We just set a record for an Amazing Fantasy 15, which is the first comic book appearance of Spider-Man. And that comic book, comic books can sell over $1 million now. And it's not even a mint condition comic book.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm smart enough to put books on there that are realistic. Some I know are going to be easy for me to snag, and some I know are going to be a little bit more of a challenge. Don't be afraid of the challenge.
And that kind of rolls, and I'm trying, while you're talking, and absolutely, and I know, and I've seen your goal list, and I've seen those videos, but I also want to roll that into know when to walk away. And this may go a little more into when you're shopping in a convention than if you have a goal list that you're willing to spread out over a year and, put your money aside and however you decide to budget your money for the year for your goals. But sometimes there are things that you really, really want, but like that one thing might keep you from getting some other things. And sometimes you just have to be, like you said, you have to be realistic, especially when you're at a convention because, and I'm gonna skip you because I'm gonna move into something that ties into this. So
yeah, I do want to add something into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But knowing when to walk away can also roll into, if you're at a convention, save it to the last day. Sometimes walking away the first day of a convention and then you walk back on the last day of the convention. Now, I know you're taking your chances that somebody with a bigger pocketbook might get what you're after, but if it's still there on the Sunday, then you're walking away on the first day might actually pay off.
And once again, that's knowledge is power too. It ties
Exactly.
back to what we talked about. But it's funny that you say this because something on my list was actually just worded a little differently from what you said. So I'm going to share that now, and I'll try to come up with a substitute one to put in. So we have 10 unique tips.
Okay.
I put there's always another opportunity. And that applies for the most part about 90% of the time, I think. If you're looking for an action figure or an autograph or whatever it is that you're looking for, comic book, there's another one out there, generally speaking. Now, some things that there's not another opportunity, that might be if you're someone who maybe what you like to collect are your photos with the Star Trek cast, actors and actresses. That might be a once in a lifetime opportunity. You never know, But for the most part, when it comes to actual items versus experiences, there's always another one out there somewhere. And I've walked away sometimes going, I hardly ever see this comic book, but either the price wasn't right or I didn't like the condition. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm walking away. I can afford it, or, in the terms of maybe it's the condition. I'm going, I can afford this, but I just don't like the condition. It's hard to walk away, but I've always been so glad I did because I found the copy that was meant to be mine sometime in the future.
Speaking of, what did you just send me the other day that you said you found out in the wild, but that Flash comic that I found at New York Comic Con?
Yeah, I think you were just talking about that last week.
Yeah, I was talking about my Flash comic, and you were out shopping and you found it. And I'm pretty sure I spent $10 on it in New York, and you found it for a sticker price of $5. But again,
different conditions too.
Different condition, years apart, and obviously I had mine to go get it signed by one of the inkers of that book. So obviously it made sense for me to buy it when I did. I have no regrets about buying it when I did. But it just goes to your point. You never know when you're going to stumble across the same thing again, as you say, out in the wild.
Yeah, and that book, because this has been a while since I helped you find the book that you needed. And that's a book, quite honestly, for me, I didn't see that often out in the wild. But when I do see it, I think of you instantly. Now, there could be someone else in a different region that says, that could look at that comic book and say, I see that everywhere I go.
Right.
It's weird like that. But
yeah,
but in most cases, like you said, walk away, there's another opportunity.
Yep. The opposite of walk away is know when to treat yourself. And which is what I did with the TV guide, and I should have brought it. It's downstairs. I should have brought it up with me. That I showed in the first episode of the season. I got a TV guide at the New Jersey Star Trek. It wasn't called Star Trek New Jersey. It was called 55-Year Mission New Jersey. But one of the vendors there had this TV guide that had been signed by Scott Bakula, Connor Trinneer, and Jolene Blaylock. And I didn't see it until the last day. And I had the plastic to do it, but I really shouldn't have, but it completed my autograph collection. Jolene Blaylock does not do conventions anymore. I have Connor Trinneer's autograph. But I don't have Scott's, and I don't know if he's ever going to be at another convention, and even if he is, he usually charges about $100 for his autograph. So for the price that I paid, I got 2 out of 3 autographs that I don't have. And it literally, it's the only time in my life that I've completed a collection. I have autographs from all the main characters in that series now. So to me, it was worth it to go, I need to splurge. So you just, you kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But I mean, I really agonized over that decision. I talked to people about it and they're like, just do it already.
I have one of my friends in the comic book community. I love it, and it's just his personality, and it's knowing him that I just appreciate this too. But I asked him for some advice. Should I get this variant cover of this comic book or something? And he point blank just cut to the chase with me, and he said, if you're asking my opinion, you're just looking for confirmation that you should get it because you want to get it.
Yep.
He said, just buy it.
Yep.
And I did, and I was happy about it.
Just real quick, for those of my crew that are not comic book aficionados, variant means it's the same issue, it's the same story, it's the same thing, it's just a different cover.
Yeah.
And
sometimes they have exclusives, like a store or a website will have an exclusive cover that you can't purchase anywhere else. Or sometimes they're very limited in how many copies there are. There's comic books out there. I've actually even heard of a comic book that only 5 of that variant were produced. And I know someone who has one of the 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm glad that that's not on a title that I was looking for, because that would stress me out a little bit.
Right.
But, yeah.
All right. So you're...
Yeah. My next tip kind of ties in. I'll piggyback off of what you said too. And let's talk about money. It's not a favorite thing to talk about, but let's discuss it.
Sure.
So, and this kind of falls into how your personality traits are. Some people are very good with money. Some people aren't good with money. But let me tell you a few things that have worked. They've worked for me. Maybe this isn't your personality, but they work for me. Maybe you'll find something in what I say that you can try, and you'll find out that it ends up working for you. Everything that I get lottery wise, if you're a lottery purchaser, be it a scratch off, be it a Powerball or whatever, I cash it out and put it in an envelope. How many times do you see people that, oh, that's a $1 winner, well, get me another ticket? I want to tell you something. They're going to buy another ticket even if that wasn't a winner. So if you take that $1, even if it's $1, and throw it in an envelope, that's what I do. I've been able, and I try to build my money up, and then I buy something that I absolutely know is too expensive and that I don't need, but I want. That's one of my tips. I don't know if your bank or your financial institution offers this, but mine does. It's called Roundup Savings. So if you purchase something that is $23.50, what they do is take $24 out of your account, and that 50-cent difference they put into your savings, or you can set up another specific account.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Now, let's say your financial institution doesn't offer that. Here's how you can do pretty much the same thing at home. When you get home, I mean, when you're paying in cash, take all your change and throw it in a jar, and don't touch it. Don't spend it. That's part of your money to be able to get your collectibles or stuff that you, or your vacation, or whatever your goal is. And I'll tell you, especially with that banking roundup, you'd be surprised at how fast that adds up. I've been doing it for probably at least 5 years now. And I get definitely over $100 every year just in that.
I'll have to look and see if my bank does it, but that is absolutely great.
And it's free. At least in my financial institution, it's free. They don't charge you for this.
Oh, cool. All right.
So check into it. See if your financial institution offers it. But it's just trying to find a different mindset in the way you deal with your money. Now, if you're fortunate enough where money isn't so much an issue, or you can make some splurges without it affecting you that much, that is awesome. And I'm jealous of you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was working a couple of jobs where I would get tips, and I never did anything with the tips but put them in a jar.
Yeah.
I still have it. I have a separate debit card. This is a prepaid card. It's not attached to my bank account. And I would get tips and it would go on the prepaid card. And that's a lot. That's usually where my hotel money for Vegas would end up. It was just tip money.
Great idea. But I'm just saying that it might involve changing your way of thinking a little bit, but be open to the possibilities, and you'll be surprised that you might be able to start putting some collectibles or maybe some things that you didn't think were achievable, and make it happen. I have a fund right now, as I was talking about my financial institution with a Roundup. I'm using all my money and I'm calling it my Gal Gadot fund. And what that means is I don't know what or when she's going to do a comic book convention. But when she does, sometime after COVID is over, because I want the full experience, I want the normal pre-COVID experience. I don't want either one of us having a mask on or a sheet of plexiglass between us and our photo or whatever.
Yeah.
But whenever that happens, I'm going to have the money to travel there and do it, because that's what my fund has been set up for.
Because it's kind of your white whale. That's what I call the white whale, that experience or whatever that's so far, it feels like it's so far out of reach. But.
Yeah. So once again, I'm doing, a list of comic books that I want to achieve sometime in a 12-month period, but I'm still looking ahead to a goal that might not happen for 3, 5, 10 years. You don't know.
You don't know, but
maybe all this stuff will go away and by March we're back to normal. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. But yeah, and we know she does the circuit because she has done conventions, so it's not too far-fetched. And where you are now, you're not that far. Am I allowed to talk about your geographic location in general? There we go. So, you're not that far from Chicago.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, because we did actually, we did have that Chicago comp the other day. So yeah. You're not that far.
My tip is just be open to thinking about how you can divert money to fund some of these things that will bring you enjoyment.
Exactly. All right, I've got one more, and this, I actually have a story to go along with this, which is why it's on the list. It's called "Look in Unexpected Places," and I'm not just talking about finding a first contact figure at a Superman museum. This was a million years ago. I was living in central Pennsylvania, and there's a little tiny mall called the Nittany Mall, because everything in State College is practically named after the college, Penn State. And the Nittany Mall, and I'm sure most malls across the country do this, where once every few months they let the flea market kind of vendors down the middle of the mall. They set up tables and they have, and they sell garage sale-y, flea market-y kind of stuff. And I found a complete set of, was it Empire Strikes Back? I think it was Empire Strikes. I think it was Empire. I have Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi Burger King glasses back in the day. Nice. And they were like $1 a piece, because this person who was just selling them as part of all this glass stuff that they had, didn't know what they had. So I bought them out of all of the Star Wars Burger King glasses because they had no clue. So it's when you find out about stuff like that, when you find out about the flea markets in your area, or you're driving down and somebody's got a garage sale going on and you've got cash in your pocket and you've got 10 minutes to kill, freaking do it. I guarantee you, somebody somewhere has the only thing Star Wars I was allowed to have when I was a kid growing up, because I was a girl in the 70s, was Star Wars sheets. And my mom told me she sold them at the garage sale they had when they moved. I wasn't living at home and they were moving, and she didn't tell me. So who knows? Those could have gone with somebody that, paid my parents $1, going, oh my God, Star Wars sheets. So you never know where you're going to find this cool stuff that people actually have no idea what they have and how much it's worth.
Yeah. Well, before I get into my point, which once again is a compliment to yours, since you brought up Star Wars, I do have a question.
Okay.
If this is a counselorship, where is the ambassador? I want to know.
Then don't go around killing the people that you're asking the question of.
He kills them when he doesn't get the answer he likes. So
think he killed them prematurely.
Yeah. But my point, once again, is a compliment to yours. And that is talk about it. Make connections. Make sure that people are aware that you're looking for this. You'd be surprised. For the very fact, before we even started into this topic, you brought up those tarot cards.
Mhm.
Someone's aware of it. Someone started looking for you.
Yeah.
Now you've got eyes in another country.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Jean is in Canada. So just talk about it. Make sure people know what you like, what you're looking for, different collectors. I think that not only in doing that, I mean, for me at least, it's a great outlet because the people that I see face to face in my immediate circle don't share the same interests that I have. So number one, I get a chance to talk about something that I enjoy talking about with someone that enjoys hearing it and talking about it themselves. So that's cool. And friendships are better than the items. They just are.
Yeah, and when you have a group of friends that aren't into the same things, then they send you stuff because they don't need it. Because you're not in competition. You're not in competition.
I don't want to say it's that they don't need it.
Well, but
they think you would enjoy it.
Right, but there's no sense of competition.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no sense of, I mean, yeah. You know, like if I saw a Wonder Woman comic that I thought that I knew you didn't have, I mean, I have a couple, but I know for a fact if I saw an amazing Wonder Woman comic that I know you didn't have or it's in a better condition, I wouldn't even think twice about where it needed to be. The same thing with, I sent you an Invisible Jet. Yeah. I went and bought the Invisible Jet from Wonder Woman 84 because it was in Target for $5. And I thought, oh, I would love to have this. And then it just sat here and I went, Lasso needs it more than I do.
Yeah, and I didn't have it. So.
And you didn't have it. Yeah. You said, I waited until
they kind of were out of stores.
And then when you said you still didn't have it, I was like, wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it helps when you have friends, because I would never begrudge somebody who's a Star Trek fan seeing something, thinking of me, but then keeping it for themselves. Like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I don't begrudge you that. So it's nice, but that's what I'm saying. It's like women with their boyfriends. It's always good to have girlfriends that aren't attracted to the same type of guys that you're attracted to, because then you don't get into fights over. It's the same thing with collecting. It's always good to have eyes on for things, for people that, you know, there's no competition.
Yep. I guess, do you have any other points that you want to make, or?
No, you know how long, it took me this long to come up with 5 because you kept after me because you said you'd only do this if I came up with my own 5. So, yeah. No, I think, just have fun. I mean, I think what you were talking about with time-wise, don't get so wrapped up in finding something that you miss out on the rest of the convention. I think is a good one, because
live in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
The hunt is fun. At least
it is.
The hunt is half of the fun, and sometimes, even if it takes longer, then you got a great story to go with it too.
Right, but just don't.
Look at what I went through just to get this thing. How many years I looked for this, or whatever it is.
Right, but just don't miss that panel that you were dying to go to because you're in the middle, because you got your hand in the middle of a comic box. Because the comic box will be there. And the other thing too is sometimes the vendors all know that you're not just there to vend and buy, that you're also there for the rest of the experiences. So if you're in the middle looking at something and you really want to get to that panel, a lot of times the vendors are really cool, especially if it's, especially if there's still a lot of time in the convention left or whatever. If you ask them to tuck something away for you while you're at a panel, they may say no. But if you're like, listen, I really wanted to take a closer look at it, but this panel's starting, they may put it underneath for like the hour that you're gone for the panel. So again, just don't be afraid to ask the question. Like I said, they may say no, they may want to leave it out and sell it out from under you in 45 minutes. It could happen. But if they're cool, they'll be like, yeah, and they'll tuck it away for you. Because that's the other thing. Don't buy something in a rush just because you need to be somewhere else.
Good point. I wanted to come up with one more because we both kind of had a shared similar one.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure that we had something. And for my last point that I'm going to make too, I'm going to be very specific to eBay.
I did want to come in that.
If make an offer is on the item, make the offer, because that definitely means you could get it cheaper.
Yeah.
Only one time can I think of where someone had to make an offer on an item, and I made an offer and they refused to take anything off of it. And I thought, then why do you have make an offer unless you're just
Yeah.
trying to gauge what the interest price point is on this item? But that's only happened once. But
Yeah,
if it
yeah.
says make an offer
Make it.
because you're going to save some money.
I'm glad you brought that up. In fact, because I did want to, I should have put it in my notes. So I'm glad you remembered. I didn't want to talk specifically about eBay. eBay for me has been a wealth of Star Trek Enterprise t-shirts. It is so hard to find Star Trek Enterprise t-shirts. Even on the official Star Trek shop, they don't do it. They have like a slew of them on eBay, probably because they did a bunch of printing when the show was on, and then it all dried up after the show, and the show wasn't as popular when it came out as, you know, probably a lot of people thought. And that the last shirt that I got, which I love, which is a cast shirt. I think I wore it on the show once. It's a big cast shirt, and it says NX01, and it's got the Enterprise behind it. I think it was going for $25 on eBay, and it said make an offer. So I started to type in 20, and then I thought, you know what? What the hell? If it's make an offer, I'm going to go for broke 15. Let's see what happens. And not only did they take it for 15, but 15 plus the shipping, and it still didn't break $20.
Yeah, fantastic.
So there, I mean, you have to be careful. Back when eBay was new, this isn't a collecting story. Back when eBay was new, I made the mistake of falling for a scam, and I'm sure there's still scams out there. I hit second place on a bid on a TiVo, and the person came and said, "I'll sell you. I have another one. Send me the money that you would have. Send me the money that you bid, and I'll send it." And I never got the TiVo. I was scammed, because I was the second place bidder, nobody would protect me. eBay didn't protect me. PayPal, nobody wanted to protect me because I wasn't the winner of the item. So always look at the reviews.
Yes, look at the feedback. And if someone did you wrong, leave that feedback. Help other people so they don't get taken. That's just as important, too. That's paying, in a sense, it's paying it forward for someone else.
Yeah.
Just be kind. Be kind to everyone.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. You said be kind. Hold on 1 second. Are my banners? I love my banners. Do I still have my banner? Do I still have my? I have this one, which is bekindmerch.org, because you said be kind, and be kind is actually the tagline for Chase Masterson's Pop Culture Hero Coalition nonprofit that the first 501c3 against bullying in the country. And their hashtag is #BeKind, and you can buy merch. And these guys are not going to scam you, and they have such amazing merch. And in fact, Raymond just shared with me, they have new merch. They have new merch coming out. Speaking of Star Wars, it's Be Kind merch, and it's black, and then it's got the yellow in the Star Wars font, kind of tilting back. So everybody should go and help out Chase and help out Raymond, and head over to bekindmerch.org. See, Be Kind always triggers me to make sure that I give a plug to Pop Culture Hero Coalition.
Yeah.
Have to, because I love Raymond.
That's our list. So
that is our list.
Very curious for those that would be inclined to leave a comment and let us know if any of that stuff helped you out. I'm also curious, because I'll be going back and following this video too, and looking at the comments. What do you collect? And if it's Star Trek, I mean, is it anything Star Trek? Is it action figures? Is it autographs? Is it comic books? Is it props, screen worn items or screen shown items? I mean, whatever it is, leave a comment below and
I would love to hear. I've actually seen there's I don't remember the URL. I have a friend who, she's amazing. She is like my little internet sleuth. And right when my Resurgence in Enterprise showed up, she sent me the link to this auction, and they were auctioning off Connor Trinneer's desert uniform from one of the Enterprise episodes, and it actually had his name in the tag.
Yep.
So it was screen worn.
Well,
stuff.
I mean, just recently, I texted you an eBay listing of a pair of earrings that were worn by Elizabeth Montgomery playing Serena.
Her cousin, yeah. And I was leery. I wanted to know. I was all about.
You were a little hesitant on that.
Well, because you know what, there was nothing special about them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they were awesome earrings. I just felt like you could have bought them anywhere.
Yeah.
Or even or in the days of 3D printing, they could have been reproduced.
Once again, knowledge is power.
Exactly.
But let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they are real. That's pretty
okay.
Cool.
It is pretty cool. It is cool.
It is so 50 years old that you still could find a prop. Even if, granted, a pair of earrings is a small prop, but it's still cool.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. While I was at Star Trek Vegas, I saw Dominic Keating pulling on some overalls, a uniform. And it looked like it was his uniform. It fit him. So I'm wondering if that was a screen-worn uniform and somebody brought it and asked him to throw it on. Because I just can't see him just like somebody handing him, oh, look what I made. Like, but if somebody can't, look, I bought this and it's got your name in it, would you put it on?
But you never know, too. If someone is so talented with that and can make a replica that looks so real.
That's true.
If I had that talent, I would go up to someone, I'd go up to Henry Cavill and say, look at this Superman costume. It looks just like the one you wore, doesn't it? Put it on.
Put it on without the briefs, but put it on. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to ask Dominic if that was one of his. I should have. 2020 hindsight. You know what?
I would have been curious.
He may remember. I mean, there's always next year.
Yeah.
So I will. You know what? I should put that in my podcast questions and just go up and be like, I have one question for you. Do you remember last year when you put that? And he knows I saw him because I told him, oh, you still look good in it. It's the only thing I said to him. I should have asked him if it was his.
Yeah. My Star Trek question, I'll give it out right now, okay?
Okay.
And this can go to as many people in the cast that you want to ask this question to, okay? I would like them to answer for me, what exactly does the fox say? I want to know.
You always have like the best questions. I can imagine the quizzical looks I'll get from people, but I might have to put that on the list. But Lasso, look at that. We discussed timing, and the timing is perfect.
Yep.
To wrap things up. I hope you guys found this as informative as I did. You know me, I love sharing tips and tricks. And like I said, Lasso is just somebody I knew he was going to come up with more tips and tricks than I could, because he does more collecting than I do. I mean, the one thing I didn't bring up, and I'll bring it up really quick before we go, when I was working at the deli pre-COVID, so I don't know if it was a kid, somebody left an entire bag of just random loose Star Wars action figures, like original action figures.
Wow.
And they left it there, and it had been sitting in somebody said, oh, look what we found for you. And I waited about a week or so, and when nobody came in to claim them, I took them home. They're downstairs. They are worthless because they're out of the bag and beat up and played with, which is amazing.
Not necessarily.
You don't think? You think they might have value?
Yeah, there's some that do, because there's some rare versions of them.
Well, yeah, if there's a Jawa in there, I would definitely be checking that out.
And even if they're opened, there's some that there's some rare variants too that
Again, see?
But at the same time too, don't get hung up on, is it worth something? If you enjoy it, then it's worth something to you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worth something to me, because it's like,
it's worth nationally.
I was all like, oh, these poor figures, you guys can come home with me, because you will have a home in a home of a Star Wars fan, and I will put you up with my Darth Vader and all the other stuff that I already have. So
yeah.
I also have an Emperor figure in the box, and it's got Return of the Jedi in 3 different languages on it. So that goes back to your point of international. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Things I should have brought upstairs, but we're not retaping this. So
So if anyone is inclined, and I know that it might not be your wheelhouse or so, I'll tell you a little bit about my channel. And if you would be inclined to head on over and check out a video, or best case scenario, if you want to give me a holiday gift, which is applicable any time of the year, even if you're watching this in a rewind in June. Subscribe to my channel. So what my channel is about is it's primarily comic book focused, and it's not so much the current comic books, although I do buy some current comic books, but it's more the older comic books, which are called back issues. And DC and Marvel, lots of characters that you'd be familiar with. And it's just essentially an online diary of how my collection has grown. Now, eventually in the future, I'll get to showing and doing some archiving videos of stuff that I already have, action figures and collectibles and stuff outside of the comic book area, but still superhero characters. And I'll start looking at autographs that I have in my collection. I have so many pop culture autographs. A good question, I have to think off the top of my head, do I have any Star Trek autographs? I know for a fact I do have an autograph from someone that is primarily associated with Star Trek, although it's not a Star Trek photo that I have signed, and that's Grace Lee Whitney.
Oh, yes.
I have a personalized autograph from her. But I'll get to all of this eventually on my channel. I gained my 550th subscriber from the NX7062 podcast, and I appreciate that. I appreciate every single person that has subscribed to my channel, though. I always say this, and I say it so much because I'm saying this from the heart. I couldn't do this without you, nor would I want to. If you want to help a friend out and just throw me a sub, I subscribe back as well. That would be amazing. But if you just want to come over and check out some content or drop a kind word, that's appreciated as well. And I want to thank you for having me and inviting me on the show tonight. I appreciate it.
Lasso, you are so welcome. Please, if you haven't already, head on over and give his channel a subscribe. If for some reason you're hanging out here and you haven't subscribed to me yet, what the heck?
Yeah.
Hit subscribe here. By the time you are seeing this, it is December 20th. You're not going to see me again till after that big holiday that's coming up. So if you do celebrate, Merry Christmas. Have a very safe and happy holiday. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for my show for the 27th yet, but Monday night, the 27th, there will definitely be something here. You'll just have to wait and see what it's going to be. Until next time, guys, as always, live long and prosper.
Foo is a furry.
This is Nicole DeBoer, and you've been listening to the NX70.